Welcome to Art with Lórien, the place to reconnect with your inner artist and discover the joy of painting outside the lines. So for today's episode, we will be continuing to explore and experiment with color, and we will be incorporating our sets of skills that we learned in the last 3 episodes on tints, creating shades, and making tones using our colors from the color wheel and the black and the white. And so before we get started into our art activity, I'd like to show you a couple of tips that are really helpful if you would like to not use black as a tube of paint, as a color, can actually dull colors down and kind of takes the light out, it dulls them down. And so one way you can make a dark color close to black is by using these 2 tubes of paint, and these are from my gouache set of 24. They are burnt umber and ultramarine blue, and just use equal amounts and mix them together on your palette. Ooh, I'm just gonna dry it out a little bit. And you end up with a really nice, close to black color. And I'm gonna go ahead and paint that on my paper here to show you. So it has the effect of black. It darkens, it creates shades, but indeed it has the light from the colors. It's not a pure black tube of paint. So that's one of the tricks I was looking forward to sharing with you on this episode. And the other one is how to create gray without using black. So if you don't have a tube of black paint and you have these, you can create tints, tones, and shades still, especially tones and shades. So the way that you create a gray without using a tube of black paint is you take equal amounts of white, and I'm using cobalt blue. It's the primary blue in the set. We've used it before for our color wheel for blue, and then to make all the secondary and tertiary colors. So I'm using that blue, mixed with a little bit of white. So you create like a kind of a cloudy, a nice blue sky. And then a tiny dab of red, and I'm using the red from the kit. It's the Brilliant Red. And you also can use a color called vermilion if you have access to that for this trick, this way of making gray without using black. You add a little bit of the red to this mixture, just a touch, and then a teeny tiny bit of yellow. And I'm going to be using my lemon yellow, which is also in my gouache 24 set. So a tiny bit of red and a tiny bit of yellow mixed with that blue and white combo will create a gray-ish, it's a gray-ish, without using black. And I pretty much have it here. It's very interesting. I'm going to paint it for you on my paper. This bigger brush. Put this guy on here. Okay, and so this is a gray using those 4 colors. We're going to dive into our activity. And what we're going to do is paint a monochromatic painting using tints, tones, and shades. And I'm going to show you the supplies for this project and be introducing my watercolor paper today and showing you how to release a sheet of watercolor paper from a block of watercolor paper. A lot of the finer watercolor papers come in blocks, or many of them you can buy in a block or a pad of loose leaf sheets. And I get the one, the brand, the type of watercolor paper I prefer only comes in a block. So I thought I'd take this opportunity to show you how you break the sheet free from this chunk of glued paper. So to go over the supplies in general, you'll require a pencil. I'm using watercolor paper for this lesson. It is on my supplies list, watercolor paper, not this particular brand, but a brand of your choice. I'm using my gouache paints, brushes, spray bottle, palette knife, palette, towel, and my water container. So have all those things handy, and let's go. So how you release a piece of paper from a watercolor block is as so. So if you look here, they give you the directions in three languages. And you basically remove the sheet by inserting a palette knife here. And they're pointing to this little space here, this little opening where the paper isn't coated in glue. And so I'm going to show you what you do. The best way to show you here. So you take your palette knife, which is sharp but not like a knife that sharp, and you insert it into the section where you can access the sheets, and then just start to pull it along. Now I'm releasing the top, the cover sheet first, but you just drag it along, and voila, there's my first sheet of watercolor paper. So now I'm gonna come in here, find that single sheet, and do the same thing. Yeah. Okay, and that's basically how you do it. And so for this episode's activity, I'm going to ask you to get into your feelings and to feel the feelings and your emotions and identify, if you can, what color resonates with the way you're feeling, a mood that you've had lately, or maybe when you're watching this episode, or just something that you can, a mood or an emotion you can identify and translate into color. That would be easier to communicate with color. And one of my favorite artists, Georgia O'Keeffe, that was kind of her explanation of her painting abstract and working with the kind of color, that the way she worked with colors. She said it was easier for her to use colors to express her emotions and feelings than it was for words. So along those lines, I'm going to request that you just kind of dive in deep, identify a color that would match your mood, if it's joy or sadness or pride or gratitude, feeling blessed, happy, whatever the emotion is, angry, whatever that is, just feel the feelings and then let it flow on the paper, and also incorporate your tints, tones, and shades. So I'm feeling kind of purpley, so I'm going to be using the purple. I'm going to use the purple from the box, and I'm going to mix some purple with the red and blue just to get different types of purple, more red purple and blue purple. And then I'm going to work in my tones and tints and shades, and the kind of painting style we're going to be creating is also abstract and free-form shapes, organic shapes, sort of like what we did before when we did the painting exercise on the color schemes. I'm going to ask you just to free flow. You can use your pencil if you like to start with, sketching something out. You can, draw your amorphic or biomorphic shapes that are just whatever comes to you. This is just throwing down the colors and playing with the skills that we've had, as well as kind of getting into a feeling and then putting it on paper and expressing yourself that way. So you don't need to use the pencil necessarily. It's not a must. But if you have this feeling of like, oh, I'd like to, mark mark my lines, put in a dot, create some zigzags, put some non-objective kind of geometric things in there too, feel free. But you also can just use your brush to draw, and so that's what we're going to do. So have everything ready, and I'm just going to get started and go for it. I'm going to lay my colors on my palette. Yeah. And I'm going to abstain from using black. If I would like to darken, I'm going to darken using the technique that I showed you earlier with this paint that I have here. Another thing you can do is you can spray a little bit of water on this watercolor paper. It's heavyweight. It can hold your paint with a wet surface. So I'm gonna bring in that's really gonna help with the flow of these gouaches. They are water-based paints. They sort of act like watercolors, but they have that body. I'm painting from feeling. That's my intention today, is painting from feeling. And I'll feel good. I'm feeling good now, and then I'll feel good after too when I have something. I didn't have a planned image in mind. And as we move forward with these lessons, we'll be exploring how to get images to paint, where they come from, where do artists get their ideas, and so I'll be teaching and talking about that a whole lot. Okay, now I'm going to bring in some tints of purple, and I'm going to mix a little bit. I'm going to mix a little bit of these guys. Get some red purple. You'll find, so I'm layering. I'm painting right on top of my other paint here with this tint. And spray bottle nearby. Did you see that flower? So I think that might be that. So I brought in lots of purple shades, tints, a variety of purples, the blue purple, the red purple, and it may not be done. I may put a little bit more here. Thinking now I'm going to maybe bring in some of this dark. I want to be sure. Yeah, just maybe a little bit of dark here. Yeah, that's what. Yeah. Okay, so now I'm gonna call it finished. There's a point where you just stop, and you can sign the front, sign the back, not sign, frame or not frame. I think it started like this. Actually, I don't remember now. But anyway, this is how I like it. This orientation. And this is a good segue to further explorations with using color and the color skills that we've been building, all the things that we've been practicing and learning. And we'll be exploring some more of the inspirations from some of my favorite color-rich, color-focused artists. There's a number of artists who I really enjoy who incorporate color is the language of their soul. There's Kandinsky, who I've chatted about before. He believes that we receive the information from the color that we look at. We see it and it communicates into our eyes. But he also talks about how color it speaks to our soul, and there's a resonance with our soul. And I really love that, and I use that, and I implement that in my own personal work. And so color is very important to me. It's very exciting, it's very fun, and I look forward to more play with color with you. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I encourage you, please make comments, tell me how it's going. Feel free to upload images. I'd like to create a safe space in my art channel where you can put your art images in and feel like it's a safe place to post them and share. I'd love to see what you have, and I'd love to see your comments. And thank you for joining me, and until next time, I'll see you in the studio. Our little cameo of our production assistant, aka stage manager. Her name is Movie Star, Movie, and she is our big girl turning 11 weeks tomorrow. She's having so much fun on set, and soon she'll be painting her own masterpieces that we look forward to sharing with you. Yes, and until then, we'll see you in the studio.